Previously on Dive Log.
Despite knowing who he was.
You don't know who I am, or who am I?
She already established herself as a stalker.
Yes, it was me. I was talking because I was so unstable. So the wave came, right, and then it swept me, and I just face planted.
We go and take courses because we need to be trained, but they come to the course wanting to be certified. It's two different things, right?
Hey guys, thank you so much for your continuous support to the Dive Log podcast. If you haven't already, please do consider subscribing to us as we continue to provide you with more interesting episodes. And let us now continue with the second part of our conversation with Megan. I hope you guys will enjoy this.
We heard of your stories of becoming a diver, taking courses and so on, experience in courses. And being in our region, Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, Philippines, can you share with us where have you been diving? Which dive site is your favorite?
Okay, so not many places. Islands in Malaysia, so Perhentian, Kapas, Tioman. I've dived in Hantu, which used to be my favorite place to dive in. I enjoy silty waters very, very much. And it's really, really a favorite, but unfortunately, Subic has overtaken that favorite spot.
Subic. Yeah. You said Subic. So tell us more about Subic. Where is Subic?
Subic is in Philippines. There are two airports that you can actually fly to, Manila and Clark. Clark is the nearest one. It's about, you can do a 1 hour airport transfer to Subic. It was very difficult for me to work out the logistics and to find information on how to do a Subic dive trip. And a little bit hard to find people because most people would maybe be more attracted to flying to Coron because of the, waters are nicer. Subic turns out to be a place that not many recreational divers go to. And I'm not very sure why, but according to the dive shop, they just mentioned that most of them are technical divers, but they said that from time to time they do get recreational divers, and then these divers are the ones that are interested, and then they go on to probably go to tech after that. Subic is a huge bay. It's a really nice environment because there is no current and there's no waves. I know the practice is to bring an SMB but which I brought, but then I ended up not even bringing them because of the fact that there's no current and there's no waves. We just go down. They're all wrecks, so all of them going to be wreck dives. There is a very big famous one called the New York. It's huge. It's quite near the shore, the shortest boat ride. Usually it's a little bit silty, whereas the wrecks that are further out, they can be very clear water actually. So all of them are wrecks. Absolutely no current. It's amazing. It's so relaxing.
What type of wrecks? Is it a steel wreck, wooden wreck, or is it a warship? Is it fishing vessel? What is it? Is it a cargo ship?
I don't think there's a fishing vessel. I think most of them are World War II wrecks.
World War II wrecks, huh?
Okay, so usually war wrecks are basically graveyards, they're grave sites. Coron would be an example of that. But the ones in Subic were purposely sunk.
Purposely sunk?
Yeah. So I don't really know the very detailed history of that.
Okay.
There is a guy called Ram Yoro who is a photographer, and he has written and compiled all his photos, and he has written about the wrecks of Subic. It's a very thick book. Yeah, if you all want, you can go and check him out and support. But he would know, and the locals would know the history of the wrecks a lot more. Okay.
But what exactly pulls you to Subic? I mean, other than the wrecks. And what is it about the wreck that is so interesting? You did say just now a graveyard, right? So people say, eerie. I'm not keen in going to places where there are dead bodies or all that kind of stuff. What is it about diving in wreck or diving in Subic?
What was I attracted?
Excites you or attracts you?
I was first planning a Subic trip because I'm progressing towards cave diving eventually, right? It's just that after my course, I realized that because cave diving, the logistics can be very difficult. You need to know which cave you want to go to. The caves are always in the jungle, and then you have to hire additional manpower, and the tanks, all that you have to handle. So logistics-wise, it can be a heavier trip to plan for, including financially. Then I started thinking about going into wreck penetration because logistics is easier. During my course, my instructors, so there were two of them, they were mentioning in one of the dive courses, they wanted to turn someone's tank off. When he entered the wreck, they could tell that his reaction, he was a little bit scared. Because he's already under stress, they didn't do it to his tank. So then that got me a bit worried, would I experience the same thing? Because I might. Like physiologically, I cannot really control how I will react to having a ceiling on top of my head, and to know that if I want to go up for whatever reason, I cannot go up. That was a huge question mark that I had. I needed to find that out for myself for real. So that's why I worked on planning Subic trip. So that was the initial draw. Then when entering the racks, they are so pretty. I find them very, very beautiful. I find the environment so nice. I just like how technically slow you have to force yourself to go, because if you go fast, you're going to stir up everything, and you're probably going to over or underestimate where your body needs to be. I really like the amount of control that you have to have, and that was initially from watching the DM and watching my dive partner dive lah, because both of them were, their standard of divers that they are is like so high, and then mine at the time is like very low lah. So that difference in standard was very encouraging for me, because then I could see like, oh, they're so good. Their finning is excellent, and mine needed a lot of work lah. Those kind of racks, they have very narrow passageways. Very good for side mount. Back mount also can. Definitely can. There are many people from other agencies who have gone for back mount dives.
I think the listeners would agree with me or would ask the same question that I'm asking now. When you say beautiful, why? How? Because you did mention silty, you did mention steel racks, so I'm assuming you're only looking at rusty metals and all those kind of stuff, and then a small area where it's cramped and so on. But what is so beautiful? How do you picture it to people or to the divers out there? Can you elaborate the beauty of this particular rack?
Imagine going down to the ship and then the rack is like huge. It's like as big as a highway. It's bigger than so many cars lined up together. It's way, way bigger. And then imagine going into a small opening at the side of the rack. You only have your light to show you the way. You usually see like passageway. Then you want to know what comes after that. You keep wanting to know what comes after lah. I think beauty is in the eye of the beholder sometimes, because there are people who really don't like silt. In many of the racks, it's actually clear. You can have some percolation. That means like some stuff that drop from the ceiling. Most of the silt has already fallen and they're already like below you lah. It's actually your job not to stir it up. Yeah, because you don't want to make people panic.
So you're telling to people that if you are a diver, you should give rack diving a try.
Yes, you should.
Okay.
You should. Even if you don't know about the rack, diving the rack itself would encourage you, and it might inspire you to find out more about that rack. And you have to wonder, like what is the history of this place?
Yeah.
There's a context to it.
What about marine life? What kind of marine life do you see in the rack?
There are batfish around just outside.
Outside? Okay.
Yeah,
what
there
about
are
inside? Do you get to see a lot of marine life inside?
Okay, there's hardly any fish inside.
Okay.
Sometimes you might come across a school of, they kind of look like squirrel fish, but it's not squirrel fish. Most of it is just gonna be wrecks. There's a huge, open space, and then you can feel so small traveling through something that is so much bigger than yourself. And I think that experience itself, of going through the ships, I think that can be very rewarding and very interesting.
What I like about wreck diving or overhead environment or cave diving is one of the only time where you get a bird eye's perspective of the ship or the things that you're looking at. Most often when we are looking at a ship, we are always at ground level. When you're diving, we are more free. When we are visiting a certain space, we can look at the ship from the top down perspective rather than from bottom up perspective. So that's one of it. And another thing is, of course, when you go inside the ship, it's like an adult's jungle gym. It's just like what Megan is saying, right? You need to go through all the restrictions and turn left and turn right or whatever. It's not like open water where you can just go straight, turn left, turn right, and dive whenever you want. But inside an overhead environment, you got to be really careful with your maneuvers and how you move. Even one kick can spoil visibility of the whole ship. Not one section, it can spoil the whole area of the ship. So you really need to be careful, and that can be something challenging, which what makes it fun. Am I right, Megan?
Yeah,
But
very.
to add to
That's
it,
the most
because
fun.
it's like a maze, right? You have to get into this maze and in and out of the maze.
And Megan, you mentioned this a lot that you like to go on trips alone by yourself. There's hardly anyone that you can go with because you guys have different goals and perspective, right? Being a solo diver going on trips, what is your take on that?
Try to make friends. So I think everyone's dive journey is different, and we must respect that. No one is here not to have fun. Having expectations of what a good diver is, what you should be doing to be a good diver, I think those things are even subjective. So everyone will have different objectives, or you can have like, you don't need to have a goal, right? You can just dive and explore diving and just have fun. Just do what you want to do, and there's nothing wrong with that. Because I'm so new in the industry, I think I found it quite difficult because I was alone and I didn't know anyone. And then also on dive trip where I went alone in, I also ended up having a lot of people talk to me. It just happened that there's a fellow traveler from Singapore, who is on the same bus and the same boat and going to the same island. And not only that, but going to the same resort. That kind of good stuff that happens lah. So I think along the way, just enjoy yourself. Okay, one of the problems that I hear is that people cannot find the right dive buddy, or they cannot find a dive buddy that they like. And I think that a lot of that comes from many recreational divers being like, this is not a work commitment, this is not a life commitment. It's difficult, or it can feel difficult at first. I think just try to dive because it's fun and have fun along the way. Eventually, somebody is going to like you enough to dive if you have fun, go to the resort. They have bars in them. They have a nightlife, that's where you get to meet people. And in Tioman also, in the dive resort, there's also like a dorm, a dormitory. So in the past, right, I could have purposely gotten a single room as a solo traveler, and it's going to be more comfortable also. Also in the past, I have purposely chose to stay in the dorm to make a new friend, to make friends, or to get to know other divers. And I think if you try it that way, it gives you more exposure and more opportunities to get to know people lah.
But being a solo diver, traveling from one country to the other, making trips around the world and so on, what are the things that you prepare yourself? We're talking now about safety, right? I mean, not to discredit women or girls, and don't get me wrong here, but being a woman, you're all alone, traveling all by yourself, carrying your loads of dive equipments with you. Depends on what you bring, it can go up to 30 kilos. All of that, right? Like logistics and maybe taking public transport, getting medical assistance and stuff like that. Is it difficult? Is it safe to be a solo diver traveling by herself? You want to travel and you get to meet people, and you're not going to be hindered by a fixed individual or a buddy that is always with you, that you have to match your schedule together, or even where you want to go, which kind of accommodation you want to choose. So you have freedom over all of that. I get it. But what if things were to happen that you get sick and stuff like this? So how do you manage that?
Oh, that's a question that I never thought of. Okay, so safety is perception. Maybe my perception should improve. Safety wise, I never really asked myself like, okay, like for example, in planning this Subic trip, am I being unsafe? I always think that I can do it. And as a matter of fact, I'm a little bit of a cheapskate, so I always try to like lower costs, right? Even in exploring how I'm gonna do airport transfer from the airport to Subic, it's just 1 hour, right? And I was exploring options of like public transport, of taking the bus. So you can't take the bus directly to Subic. You have to stop just outside of it in a different jurisdiction actually. And then you have to book a cab. There was a lot of iffy stuff there lah. There are things that are not very firm over there. And it was actually an acquaintance that heard about this. He lived in Philippines and he's like, this is not Singapore. This is not as safe as Singapore. And you are taking a night flight and you still want to take a bus. Just pay for the resort to send someone there and pick you up. How do I plan my safety? I don't really. I should improve. Okay, I should look into that.
No, because there's a lot. You see, there's a lot of factors that could involve, like for example, weather, being hit by typhoon and all that kind of stuff. I've been to Manila a couple of times. On this one time, I was in a situation where the night before there was a big storm and whatever not, and then Manila got flash floods and all that kind of stuff. So it was difficult to move about, and then I actually could not make it anymore already. Normal times the gate would have already closed, but I think because of the situation, the flight could not even land or that kind of stuff, so they had to delay, and then I had to find my way or to argue with the counter to get myself in the gate. So all that kind of stuff, you see. If you travel all by yourself, I guess it would be definitely a little bit more challenging, right? Because you have to manage everything by yourself. Certain individuals like to travel all by themselves. I used to travel a lot, but I really like to travel with another person at least. I'm not a fan of traveling all by myself. I guess it gets a little bit boring as well. But what about you, Adam? Because you travel a lot as well. There are times where you travel all by yourself. How do you decide when and why do you want or not want to have to travel with a companion?
First of all, aside from scuba diving, traveling is actually my main profession. I am kind of like used to it. Like even when I'm traveling alone or when I'm traveling with others, I'm at this point where it doesn't really matters that much to me anymore. Of course, being traveling alone, you need to be more cautious. Before the departure date itself, I already kind of have 80-90% of what I'm going to do, where I'm going to be at, and how I'm going to get there. Being an experienced traveler, I dare to say, most of the time, things does not work out as what you intended to be.
Yeah.
8 out of 9 times you will be like that. You will not expect the things that
To go as
you're going to
planned.
experience. I've already developed this mentality where just go with the flow. Work with what you have. Like just in case you miss your flight or whatever, you need to have a contingency plan. Get the correct insurance, get medication, prepare for your vaccination and all those things. Once you have done all those things, just get onto the plane and see what happens. There are a lot of time where there's nothing you can do about it. You just need to sit it out or you just need to experience it. I reckon it's a bit more difficult being a female traveler because you do get a lot more attention when it comes to traveling alone. A male traveling alone, people will not bat an eye, will not think anything about it. Having seen a female traveling alone, you'll get a lot more attention. So I reckon that there will be a lot more consideration, a lot more things that you need to look into when it comes to that. It's also safe to have someone that you can communicate with all the time when you're traveling alone, just to update them where you are and what you are doing. It's like an anchor. Whatever happens, right, you know that you can go back to that person. That person can actually help you a lot. Like, let's say I miss my flight, I need to book an hotel straight away, and the internet connection is bad. Just send a message to the person. I'm stranded here and this day, can you book this hotel for me? And all I need to do is just show up at the hotel and everything is already done for me. So you kind of need to have that one person, especially when you're traveling alone, someone that you can trust that will do all these things for you.
Yeah, speaking of female attention, I think you are right actually. So in Subic, I was with a dive friend, but he was only staying for like about half the trip. We went to that particular cafe about twice or something like that. Then on my last night there, I was alone, right? I went in and I had dinner there and I had alcohol. I was like getting fuzzy, you know. There was no one else, just the person serving. Then he started talking to me lah. He had no sinister intentions. He just came to talk to me out of being interested in me being a foreigner. Yeah, I do see that as a bit of extra female attention. Because if I was a guy, he wouldn't, right? I do get experiences like that. Just a few.
But all in all, throughout your years of traveling, it's safe to say that it's fun, it's safe.
You can do whatever you want at any time you want.
So it's good to be a solo traveling diver. Yeah?
What's next for you, Megan? Where are you going next? Where's your next dive destination? What course are you going to take?
I signed myself up for the ISE REC course. Good luck to me, I'll probably fail. I really probably failed it because I failed the other one. So now my confidence level is like negative. It will be this year sometime in early February. It's with the same instructors. We will be at Subic, which I have already like wrecked in my previous trip. I've also invited another ISE diver. So this lady has already passed ISE's deep wreck and cave She has been diving for quite a while already. Yeah, and
So she's there for a fun dive.
she's there for a refresher because it's been a while, and also to come and laugh at me. She's very invited to laugh at me. Yeah, it'll be nice looking at someone struggle.
She's
and
a
struggle
friend.
through what she has already gone through.
She's a friend, or you just got to know her?
I was introduced to her when I started talking to my instructors. So I'll be doing the rec course, which will teach me about line work, blindfold me, probably do a lot of gas sharing, I think I've heard.
Have you been training for it?
The thing that worried me most about it was that I knew that you'll probably have to take off your mask, do some kind of no mask ascent. Not sure exactly how, but I did try it in Hantu. Fortunately, I had someone diving with me at the time, so it actually let me safely take out my mask and see whether can tahan or not lah. But what I found is that there's no way you can read what's on your dive com. There's no way.
You kind of can. Nowadays, the dive computers are color coded, some of them. So, of course, if you see if it's white color means everything is good, yellow means it's warning you, red means that you're going to die.
Red
Kidding,
means caution,
kidding.
caution.
Red means you are not. Red means you are not where you're supposed to be. You can just look at those colors and you kind of know your status. And also, if you put your head down, you can use your bubbles to actually
Okay,
look
look,
at the dive
I
com.
tried that so bad. Okay, I tried it. I cannot. I can't. I'm
Of course,
skill,
not
no
all
skill
the
issue.
bubbles, but you kind of need to go through all the bubbles, and some of that might be able to help you to look at your dive com. I wouldn't bet on that. I'm telling you that it's possible.
Yeah.
To use your bubbles.
Yeah, possible.
Yes.
The way I feel in regards to preparing for the course is more of like, do you feel ready to go try the course? It's not how much you train before. You have already passed the BOE, you already passed side mount. During the course, it could be a lot of new things. What you actually know should already be the base of your diving.
Vicky, do you have any advice for candidates who are going to any sort of courses?
All that I want to say or share here is that diving is an activity done in an environment that we are not used to or we are not made to. Give yourself time to learn and master the skills. And most importantly, be open about learning and also try to get a great instructor to train you, because you need to get trained. You need to go into a course wanting to learn and be trained so that you can be a competent diver. Don't put pressure on yourself that, you get into a course and you want to get yourself certified then. You need to be truthful to yourself. If you're confident that you are ready and you master the skills and you can dive safely, then you are a competent diver.
Actually, Dicky, can I ask, right? This is a very, very important question, and I think a question that a lot of divers will be interested in is, how do you choose that instructor?
It's actually very easy. Get to know the person first and see what his or her credentials are. How many students has he or she teach? You can get all this information. I understand a lot of people will think that it is impossible to get all of this information, but it's actually not. You can ask. You can reach out to the organization and they will also be able to advise you about that particular instructor.
You will want a wreck diver to teach you wreck diving. You would not want, like say, an open water diver to teach you wreck diving, or a cave diver to teach you wreck diving. As a matter of fact, let's say if you are doing wreck diving, right, you will want an instructor that dive wreck frequently. Instead of going for cave diving, he dive wrecks more frequent than he dive caves. That is one of the requirements for me, at least when I look for an instructor. Right, I will want that person to be specialized in that particular thing. Another thing is, as Dicky said, do the wipe check. Talk to the instructor beforehand when you take any course with him. Just text him or her in advance. Maybe you know that you're going to take a course or you are interested to do a course with them. Chat with him or her to see if this person is right for you or not. I think that is very important. If you get to click with someone even before doing a course, that is quite a positive indication that that person is going to be the right instructor for you, right?
And also, may I add, right, what can also be important is in the instructor you choose is actually his commitment to you after the course. And that requires hard work itself. At least I can share in my experience, right? And what I have realized for my ISC instructor, I'm probably the annoying student in that I keep texting him a lot of questions, just out of curiosity, and also like a lot of things I used to be better and actually lost quite a lot of weight because of exercise and health. I actually shed the weight. And my BCD was actually fit by him when I was bigger, right? Then I had this entire chunk of problem that I lost weight and my BC
You
actually
can't fit
doesn't fit.
anymore.
Yeah, and then I struggled. Like, it was quite many months of me not having trim, and because I was a new sidemount diver, and it was probably because the BC don't really fit properly, I was actually having a lot of questions to ask him, including questions about wreck and cave diving, things like that. And he has always replied, like he never gave up on me. Yeah, maybe it's not fair to have that as an expectation, but since I have that level of commitment from my instructor, which I never knew, I never expected that to happen, just to bring that up. And also another factor that comes into play when choosing your instructor is which agency is he actually under. Like, to what extent does the instructor matter and the agency matter, especially for tech and beyond?
To me personally, the instructors matters more than the agency. If I like a certain instructor and the way he or she teach, it doesn't matter which agency that he or she will certify me. Because what I learn is more valuable than the certificate that I get. The certification is only an indication telling me that I have fulfilled this requirement.
Met competency.
But what am I competent at? And how am I going to achieve this competency? That is solely the instructor's responsibility. In scuba diving, especially when the level where we are at, there are many ways of doing things. Different instructors might have different ways of doing it, but within the standards, they will have these small little tricks that they can pass it on to you to make it easier, to make it better for you to achieve the task. Even the manual doesn't state what we can do in certain situations, but the instructors will know, because books can only take you to the last page. An instructor knowledge is basically years and years and years of experience that even some book will not be able to interpret. So yeah, instructors I think is more important when it comes to technical diving. Agency is more like the governing department for scuba diving. They do come up with standards and all those things and the requirements. To achieve that standard, that requirement, it all comes down to the instructors.
Well, in any level, they do studies and they refer to each other with regards to standards as well. It's just how they get people or what level they offer differs a little bit. Maybe by the name or by the exercises that they introduce in that particular course. Yes, I agree. And this is the only one thing I think that is important. You must consider choosing a competent, well-experienced and disciplined instructor, someone who's really professional, someone who knows what they're doing, what they're teaching, and who can give you more. It's not about him being able to exceed standards. We're not trying to talk about standards, but being able to deliver to you what is needed for that course and do it well so that you are competent. He is not there to just certify you even though you are not able to do certain skills. So that's not being professional, right? So I would say that talking about agencies and instructors, I would say that finding the right instructor is more important than the agency. But instructors, even though in the same organization, you have so many different types of instructors. Instructor A can be different than instructor B. Organization is not the issue here. The issue is actually the instructors. So finding the right, the correct, the best instructor is really imperative, I would say.
Let me offer a different opinion. Okay, so I think at tech level, people are choosing agencies as well. I didn't choose the agency. For me, my path was a bit like half blind like that. It was like, oh, you cave dive, you cave explore. Okay, who are you? And are you answering my questions? And then I decided I like that guy and I followed him, right? But I know that other people they're also considering, which particular agency to learn under. And that is because there are some tech agencies around, different tech agencies, right? Especially the smaller ones, including ISE, may have different standards. They may have different practices of what they do. GUE is of course very reputable, right? And they are also a large agency. But some of the things we are trained may not be the same as the other agencies out there like TDI, IANTD, even PADI. So that is also another consideration, that people should make lah. And there's another reason why other people choose a particular agency. It just could be because they like the practices, they like the philosophy. They see, okay, so this tech agency is very successful and they're big, they are known. There is a presence, there's a local presence of divers in their country for them to be diving with at tech levels. For me, at recreational level, it's hard for me to find a dive buddy, a very consistent dive buddy. I haven't gotten that into that phase yet because of my limited experience and limited time diving, right? How much harder is it when you are tech level and when people feel that they need to be more careful with who they dive with because these people have to be on par with their standard of a safe tech dive?
As you climb the scuba diving hierarchy, that is the price that you need to pay. You will need to accept the fact that not everyone will be in line with your goal and your expectation. The further up you climb, the more independent you need to be. You are aiming to become a cave diver. You will probably need to be prepared to go and do the dive yourself and need to do the course yourself. Because there will not be a lot of people who are going to be interested in coming along with you, especially when it comes to tech diving and cave diving and wreck diving. So that is the price that you need to pay in order to be at that level.
Yeah, to do the courses yourself, which I already am doing because I will be doing that rec course.
Well, even after you have been certified, and if you want to do any fun dive, I won't say
yeah,
recreational
like
dive,
fun cave dive,
fun tech
rec
dive,
Yeah,
you will need to be prepared to be going alone.
yeah.
Yeah.
So sad. It's so sad. Ideally, tech dive should be a team adventure.
Well, this is the thing. It almost make me feel it's what's going on is that there are individuals or there are groups that are trying to separate divers. I still stand to what I say, and it's fine that people want to take other agencies and so on. They choose agencies, but then again, I find that these are the type of people who like to make things difficult for themselves. These are the types of people who like to spend so much money, their hard-earned money, to be in one particular group or team or organization. Why do you want to make things difficult for yourself where it is actually not difficult? There are courses that have been practiced for so many years and it has been proven, and then now you want to change and say, no, you have to do it this way and that way. This is a new way of doing it versus that is the old way of doing it. This is more current and all kind of stuff, where in the actual fact, that is a well-proven course that has delivered so many competent divers or tech divers, now that we're talking about tech diving, as opposed to the ones that are new in the industry, but they are developed by veterans tech divers themselves already. But you still want to go with a course that is really making it difficult for you just to achieve the same outcome, the same competency. Not only that, you are required to spend more. I'm not trying to say anything or to diss any agency. Agency has got their own standards and so on, is fine, and their objective is to, or they believe that their objective is to make that particular diver competent diver, or yet a better than a competent diver, I would say. Maybe if you can get someone who can really teach you and train you well, who have been diving for so many years, who have gone through so many experiences, for example, in life-threatening situation, rescue missions and all kind of stuff, who has that kind of knowledge and can part that knowledge to you, why don't you want to do or learn with him or her despite the agency, right?
At the end of the day, like, diving theory has not been a proven, like the exact correct diving theories when it comes to like decompression. It's not been proven. We only have suspicions as to what it is, formed into different models and improved models over time. Okay, but there is no solid proof. We just know that, okay, we follow certain rules. Group A's rule, Group B's rule, Group C's rule. And most of the time, no one is going to get DCS. No one knows the truth about like bubbles. At the end of the day, like, why go so hard on this particular theory being correct and everybody must follow this theory, and those who are not using, this model may be wrong? It's based on individual comfort. Like, I think a lot of the differing opinions and different sentiments, they all stem from the same place, which is the correct place, which is what makes diving safe. What should we do for ourselves? Whose information do we follow? What do we follow for ourselves? Okay, to make this practice safe for us so that we can have fun. I think we've been mentioning, a bit of tag this entire podcast, right? But let's not forget to enjoy diving for what it is. I should be
Yeah.
enjoying diving more for the marine life.
Yeah.
And I'm so sorry to myself that I just got bored in Cebu, seeing like the same sites. We're literally going to the same places every single day lah. Yeah. But for me, like every Hantu dive, okay, it's really, really nice. I have started to really appreciate it. Yeah.
Well, Megan, I hope you all the best for your upcoming wreck diving course. I think you will do well because you have already been to Subic Bay. You kind of already know what to expect, and I'm sure that you will be more comfortable at that particular place already. Good luck to you. Thank you so much for coming to this podcast today and sharing your experience and knowledge with us.
Thank you. Thank you very much for, so warmly welcoming me.
So that will be all for tonight, guys. Again, thank you, Megan, for making your way to our studio and being here present at the Dive Vlog podcast. This is our episode 1 for 2025. Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year to all the listeners and the viewers out there. You will definitely do well. Our prayers are with you and all the very best. We want to see you succeed. We want to hear more about your experience after coming back from that course as well. So
Yes.
hopefully in the future we can have you back in the podcast and share us with many more diving stories, diving experiences and so on.
She also already promised that she's going to guide us when we go diving at Pulau Hantu.
Oh, did she? Okay, cool.
Yes,
Yes.
with my
Yes, she did.
with my very bad navigation skills. Yes, I will be your guide.
Okay.
Yeah.
No
Yeah,
worries.
absolutely.
So anyone who wants to follow Megan or follow
get
us
lost in
to
Hantu.
be guided by Megan to Pulau Hantu, come and reach out to us. We can maybe plan one trip, huh?
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. We'll see you in our next episode.
That is all for us. Till we meet again. Bye, guys.
Bye.